Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome in. Happy New Year. It is the first stream of February, which means we get to do our first hell yeah of 2026. We're going to be covering off the January releases, and we got a bit of a new format. I felt constrained by the binary of yeah, nah, and hell yeah. And I looked at other ranking systems, stars, percentages, out of 10, out of 5, out of 3, the tier list, and I'm like, it's all got merit, but I need something that's just a little bit more me, if you will. And I think I found that. So we'll wait till we get up to it, but I think I found a ranking system that works for me. Kicking off, on the first release, on the second day of the 2026 year of the Earth. I know it's not, just before anyone feels the need to correct me. Shirobeats and Kiwwi with their album We Are So Back. Appropriate for a new year, new album. American dance electronic. I kind of enjoy it. It's giving soft, it's giving very nice listening. I think I'd vibe really well to this at like a laser highway or something. The mix is a little bit like lo-fi at times, and it clashes with the more upbeat, frantic mix. Upbeat, frantic beats are clashing with the lo-fi mix. Which means like sometimes it feels a bit off-putting, and when I'm here in my desk chair, I'm not super vibing with it. But, you know, like I said, if I'm at a club, if Laser Highway was still a thing and this came on, I would be on the dance floor with a drink in my hand. Where I kind of draw the line on electronic albums, though, is while I could imagine that, I didn't make me want to be at the club. I didn't listen to this and go like, man, I would really love to be at Laser Highway right now. That would be really fucking cool. I'm just like, if I was already there and this came on, I'd appreciate it. So I find that's a nice delineation when it comes to this like dance music. As someone who doesn't frequent those places, I'm like, would it make me go out to that place if I knew this song was going to be there? And I don't think this would. But on the record though, like as in recorded songs, not live or in a club environment, I don't really see myself coming back to this album for frequent plays. It's got like a few good songs, and kind of in my ranking, it was kind of on the edge of like here or here. I was kind of on the line, and then the last track, I Just Want to Make Music With My Friends, pushed it just up a little bit. So, yeah. I think the best songs are the ones that don't have Kiwi's vocal style, because it doesn't engage me, and kind of a few of those drop off towards the end, where it's got less vocals. So, I'm gonna give it a soft hell yeah. And this is my new ranking system. So congratulations, Shirobeats and Kiwwi, for getting the first hell yeah. As you can see on the ranking system, it goes from hell fucking yeah to hell yeah to hell yeah to yeah nah to yeah nah, and finally the shameful just no. It's kind of going to be graded on a curve, looking at past albums and how I would have graded them, and like even just this January, most things fall in the middle. And as for the delineation, it is kind of that middle thing. It's kind of your emotional strong points. I gotta get in camera frame. Your emotional strong points, and then they kind of curve down towards the middle, and these are like your less emotive, with like positive on one side and negative on the other side. So like you feel strongly positively, you feel strongly softly, you feel negative softly, you feel negative strongly. So yeah, this is a soft hell yeah. Wasn't bad, wasn't great. Is what it is. Moving on. Ulver, Neverland. Hey, I reckon maybe Unto Others had it right when they said Never Neverland, because frankly, did not like this one. And I get it, they're kind of a famous artsy band known to be genre swappers. And I have seen, like, I first heard about them as a black metal band, and then at Dark Mofo, someone's like, oh, you want to come see Ulver? And I'm like, hell yeah. So they had 2 shows at Dark Mofo, and I didn't realize this when I bought it. They were doing an electronic show and a metal show, and I accidentally bought tickets to the electronic one, and I had a fucking blast. But this is all kind of like synth poppy, like vibe, almost field recordings at some points. Like a soundtrack, like a very low-key background soundtrack to something that's kind of meant to fill space and not get noticed. It's not without merit. There are parts of it I like. It has bird calls in it for a fair bit, especially my favorite song called "They're Coming, the Birds." But kind of overall, this is entirely forgettable. It's like when you get a good soundtrack where like you watch a great movie and you like buy the soundtrack because you remember all the good songs, and you realize that's like a quarter of the soundtrack, and the other 3/4 are like tracks that you didn't even consciously register in a scene because they're designed to kind of fill the audio void. And that's what this is. This is background music. Very inoffensive, very unnoticeable. Very, nah. Moving on from that, Nighnacht, Limb Service. I feel like I've covered Nighnacht a few times on this. This is their debut album, but they've dropped a fair few EPs leading up to this. And I've mentioned almost every time before that to me, they sound a lot like Nunslaughter. I was trying to get information on this album, and I went to their Metal Archives page for the first time. Lo and behold, their vocalist is Nunslaughter's vocalist. So, no shit past me do they sound like Nunslaughter. They are partially Nunslaughter. I really like the short punchy songs. I really like the weird shrieky vocals, which is what drew me to Nunslaughter as well. Don of the Dead, as he's called. He gets a bit silly with it, but he's also kind of tongue-in-cheek silly with it. It's meant to be this kind of goofy black and death metal sound, and he does it really well. I feel like this is a little less tongue-in-cheek. Nunslaughter is very comical in how it presents like its satanic themes. It is so edgy 14-year-old type shit, whereas this is a little bit more serious lyrically in terms of like just death metal. But it's pretty enjoyable, but it's also kind of forgettable because it doesn't have those really goofy elements and like really fucking teenage cringe lyrics. It sticks a little bit less in the head. So like I remember liking it, but after I turned it off, I couldn't repeat a line or a riff back to you off the top of my head. So it gets a soft nah. I'm probably not going to come back to it, but it's not terrible. If you're a death metal fan, especially if you're a Nunslaughter fan and didn't realize that the vocalist has another active band, definitely worth checking out. But other than that, I don't know. I'm not going to give it a hearty recommendation. As opposed to Lionheart, Valley of Death 2, I give this my everything endorsement. This big, heavy, beat down, knuckle dragging riff, tough guy, gym music. It's hard to describe because it's very simplistic. But if you enjoy shit like Malevolence, who are very hot right now, these guys actually have a song with Malevolence on it on another album. And I think this album sounds more like Malevolence than the song they actually did with Malevolence. But yeah, it's just this really punchy, like, tough guy hardcore. All the lyrics are, like, don't fuck with me, I'm so tough. a lot of references to dogs, chewing through the leash, where's my dogs at, release the dogs. Um, so, look, if you like big, tough riff, and you like dogs, this is the album for you. And if you don't like dogs, and you don't like big, tough riffs, you're probably in the wrong place. You probably were looking for another stream. Thanks for tuning in, but I don't think you belong here. I struggle to like emphasize why I think people should listen to this without just sounding like it's Ooga Booga Caveman Riff, because it is Ooga Booga Caveman Riff. It's got this kind of like, I guess like beach culture, like Venice beach culture, flavor to it, just a sprinkle. Like it's a little bit gangbanger, a little bit, body count. But other than that, it's just full on crowd kill people in the pit riff. It gets a hell fucking yeah. I can't emphasize just how baseline cool this album is. If you don't think this is cool, get the fuck out of heavy music. I don't know what to tell you. This is like lizard brain. Scratch that itch. Yeah. Also a lot of good use of call and response, so I'd love to see this live and see like the mic passes and stuff. I hope this is such like DAL bait that they have to bring them out soon. Surely. But yeah, it's just done really well. Nothing's overcooked, overtuned, overcomplicated. It's cheesy tough guys in a great way. It's got some good features in it. It's got Cooper Klan, Texas, and A Day to Remember featured on here. None of them feel overly transformative to the songs they're on, but it really does well in the algorithm game, and the algorithm game is kind of everything these days. So yeah, big dog bark riff, get on it. Now this is my other best pick for the month, and it couldn't be further away from something that's perfectly simple to something that is the third act of a prog rock opera that spans genres based on the Mega Man franchise, but expanding it into an entire like story of lore. Could not be further, and yet once again, so amazing. Now, I am a patient man. I waited for Duke Nukem Forever. I've waited for many things. This took 17 years to come out. Between Act 2 and Act 3. 17 years. I first saw these guys when they were touring Act 2 and they played the first PAX in Australia. And even then, that was like at the end of the album cycle touring. 17 years and not a second wasted. This is the What If Duke Nukem Forever lived up to the hype. This lives up to the hype. I'm going to start off with a one negative note, because I just want to get that out of the way. This is a very narratively dense band. Even outside of the lyrics, they put notes in the liner notes of the physical albums, explaining the story, what's happening, like, between the songs. The songs are kind of your main scenes, and even kind of describing the things that you only hear as like sounds, like doors slamming and stuff, sound effects. So I would say that these liner notes are required listening for the album. Required reading to fully experience the album. They have locked that to the physical releases for a band that is either not signed or signed to a small label. I think they're independent, doing their own merchandise out of America in the middle of like all this fucking tariff nonsense. So I bought the album digitally on Bandcamp because I love this band, and even then, I'm not apparently worthy to get these liner notes to understand the full story. It's kind of suck shit dickhead to the international fans. Cough up the exorbitant international shipping, which is twice the cost of the album, if you want to get the full story. I think that's really shitty. discourse online has been that that's a really shitty thing to do, and that you should get a digital copy of those notes if you're buying the album digitally. Yeah, so Protomen, lower your shipping costs. You are above what other people are charging to send albums from America to Australia. So I don't know if you've just not reviewed them recently or if you've got a really bum deal, but like even amongst all this international shipping bullshit, you guys are expensive compared to your peers. And secondly, yeah, put the fucking liner notes in the digital copy on Bandcamp. Costs you nothing. Supports you fair, especially when like your whole shtick is meant to be like really like fight the power. It's about overthrowing a tyrannical government, and then they're like, "Tee, we're gonna paywall the message about the rise of the common man." It's silly. It's silly. Anyway, musically, it's a bit of Queen, it's a bit of Jim Steinman, bit of Meatloaf, sprinkle of Maiden, with a Deep Purple on the keys. It is a masterclass of classic rock appreciation, and that, once again, that real Jim Steinman ability to build a world within your albums in these huge, soaring, borderline operatic tracks. And it's so authentic to the old school elements too. It doesn't feel like a throwback band. It just feels of the time. And that is so rarely done. There are so many throwback bands out there. There are so few that just sound this genuine, straight plucked from then and put into now. They've got multiple vocalists. They're all just super powerful. The compositions are perfect. My original notes here that I'm looking at says too many interlude tracks, especially they're like back to back, or an interlude that goes into an instrumental. And I did feel like that at first, but on multiple listens, and then listening to Act 1, 2, and 3, or if you want it chronologically, it actually goes Act 2, then Act 1, then Act 3, whatever. And you listen to the whole thing, and I'm like, no, actually, as a trilogy, the pacing is spot on. The first feel was like that was breaking it up, but no, I have to consider the whole art piece. And I had to repeat listen because their albums are all growers. Because I think you need to go through a few times to really appreciate the storytelling, pick up all the elements, pick up what the characters are doing in every scene. So it probably wasn't, my best album of the month, best album of the year on first listen, but weeks in, yeah, it's easily up there. The only thing that I thought is Act 2 had some really like cool tough songs where it was like really fight the power, like fist fight in there with the big bad power. Act 1 had that too. Act 3 kind of doesn't, and once again, at the first, I'm like, oh, where's the tough song? Where's the, like, rah, rah, beat on the brat? And once again, that kind of folds into the narrative of, like, in this story of overthrowing tyranny, Act 1 and 2 both had that song, and in both times, narratively, they failed. There is a reason it doesn't happen again in Act 3, is because they have learnt from their failures, and they try a different approach. So, once again, everything that I kind of didn't like at first is so explained within the world of the album and the trilogy that, like, I'm like, oh, wait, no. I was wrong. It's actually genius. And that's the thing. This is... it's just a masterclass of cinematic story writing, with callbacks that, loop in different parts of the story. And there is a real opportunity when doing that in music with the concept of the refrain. You're not just calling back to a moment that you might do in a flashback or even like a kind of wink to the camera in a visual format. With this, you can actually repeat the riff and make the listener go, it's that parallel to something that happened on Act 1 or Act 2. And I think that's really cool. and I think they made the most of it. Especially when you start doing that towards the big finale, and it really pulls everything together of how we got here. So yeah, just beautiful cinematic story writing within the world of music rather than the world of cinema. And the story is cool too. The everyman anti-hero, the lyric of "No hero can save us, but I've never been a hero," really kind of like tying everything together, and I think appealing to the everyman right now in the world of like, kind of, there's a real sense of like, ah man, yeah, we kind of fucked up a lot. We've kind of fucked the world pretty heavily. If you feel like you're the good guy in the story, you're probably not. We've all done a bit wrong in our lives. But you can still turn around and be like, but I can do right. I might have not been a hero, but I can do right. And I really like that. It kind of shows that maturity of the band, of, you know, especially when you're matching the age of these band members. As their story matures, you mature with it, and you're like, yeah, I get it. And they've done a really good job of that, and like expressing that characterization through only spoken narrative and song. And the liner notes help as well. But honestly, if you don't have the liner notes, I think you'll still get 80% of the story. I think you'll still get the main thread of the story, but it really helps to have it. And I have glazed this for far longer than I glaze an album normally. It obviously gets the hell fucking yeah. I can't stress enough how enjoyable it will be if you go out and listen to Act 1, 2, and 3. I think listen to them in release order because the quality of recording significantly jumps up. If you listen to Act 2, you're like, oh, this is good. And then you listen to Act 1, you'd be like, this was recorded on a potato in a shed. So yeah, I think it's like doing Star Wars. You watch them in release order, otherwise it's really jarring when the quality goes to shit on episode 4. Yeah, hell fucking yeah. Please, PAX or the band or whoever or whatever, bring this shit back to Australia, alright? I know it took you 17 years to get the album. Don't make it 17 years to come back to Australia, please. They got like 30 members in the band though, so touring will be very expensive, I assume, and probably rule out Australia unless they have the backing of a PAX. And I don't know how involved Yug is in PAX these days, but he's a big fan of the band, so I'm hoping he can use his influence. Alright, no more Protomen talk, I promise. Moving on. Ironmouse. Club Ironmouse. I feel like I probably don't need to introduce Ironmouse if you're on Twitch watching me right now, because it's one of the biggest streamers ever. But as a VTuber, Ironmouse has put on a live event called Club Ironmouse somewhere in the States, with a bunch of really cool songs. And honestly, I think this would have really fucked hard if you're there. It's just, this is what I was talking about before with the Shirobeats album, and Shirobeats actually features on this, so yeah, I'm not gonna feel bad for putting one beneath the other, because Shirobeats is on both. But where I said like that one wouldn't make me leave the house, if I knew Club Ironmouse was happening in Melbourne, I would leave the house. I would buy a ticket. The originals are cool. The covers are really fun. I have been spinning this Abracadabra cover over and over again, especially that scene where, like, yeah, that part where it just builds back up. I guess you'd call that the, like, God, I don't even know the word for that. What do you call the post-chorus? I'm gonna have to ask Luke about that. But yeah, so Shirobeats got 11 out of the 13 songs. I've never really cared for Ironmouse as a vocalist, that like really high-pitched VTuber cutesy sound. The gimmick's cool. I don't think it carries an album though. But yeah, again, as a live event, I would go and I would have a blast. Most of the songs that I do know are really good. It does have Gnarly on it by Cat's Eye. I hate that fake K-pop band garbage song. Fuck you, gnarly. Everything else, though, is either fine or really cool. Apparently, there are a few songs missing from the live show. Maybe they just didn't get the rights for the covers or something. But yeah, this is kind of that differential line of like pushing it into that, like, oh, I'd actually go see that. And that's why I'm like, yeah, it also gets a hell yeah. I realized that some of my notes here were originally I was going to give that We're So Back Again, so a lot of my notes are like talking about how they're on different levels, but I did eventually put We Are So Back up to Club Ironmouse. Maybe I should have put Club Ironmouse up. Fuck it. Moving on. Norman Sann, Sanskrit 2, baby! I am getting paranoid that this is actually an AI artist. I mean, he has photos of himself on social media. Does he have live shows? That's always a big thing. Yeah, let's quickly. Yeah, he's got like a strong social media presence with all of like himself in it. Is that a live show photo? Alright, cool. Sweet. It's just the amount of content this guy puts out is like so red flag for AI. But it's really good. So yeah. Horrors of the New World. Anyway. Because he puts out so frequent like releases, I feel like you've probably heard me say everything before. There's a bit more serious in his previous albums, just a bit more tonally dark, and referring to the troubles of the world now. Doesn't throw in as many pop culture references. Still a good amount, and he's still very clever. I think my favorite thing about him is he just delivers references with clarity and confidence. He doesn't dumb them down or over-explain them. He just kind of drops them in a way where you hear what he says, and you can kind of be like, alright, I'm going to go look that up, because it always pays off. As soon as you learn what the reference is about, you're like, oh, that was clever. Nice, cool. Other than that, it's kind of everything I've said before. Like, his beats are good. He doesn't write really super memorable songs. It's lacking chorus hooks that make you go like, oh yeah, it's this one. I can't wait to hear this live. But kind of as a whole album, it just plays through really nicely. It's almost the same way I engage like instrumental bands or like prog rock or something. I'm not looking for hit tracks that top my most played on repeat. I'm enjoying an art piece. So this gets a hell yeah from me. And I would be shocked if he ever got like a yeah nah, because he just knows what he's doing. He's an expert. Whew, this is an ugly album cover. I fucking hate this. Go back to being a monkey, please, Robbie. Starts really strong though. It's got a song with Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath fame, and it is really cool. It does show that kind of like that Hollywood punk edge to Robbie Williams, where it's like, I know you're not punk rock, but like you've clearly got just a surface level appreciation for rock. I can believe that you have that much. Yeah, I'm sure when you wear a fucking Sex Pistols shirt, you probably actually listen to the Sex Pistols, but you'd never be at your local dive bar on a Friday night watching the shittest punk band in the world. But yeah, really fun, upbeat rock song, kicking it off with Tony Iommi. It does a slow refrain version later on in the album without Tony Iommi. It's called Pocket Rocket. If you have the regular edition, not the deluxe edition, it's the end, so it kind of bookmarks the album. Bookends the album. I like that a bit less, but most of the album just passes very inoffensively. It's just kind of the most cookie cutter Robbie Williams album. Every now and then it's got a clever lyric that reminds you that, you know, he can be a good lyricist, especially back in his heyday. Early Robbie Williams is just fucking great. There's a reason I'm touching on this and I don't touch on every, you know, pop band there is that Robbie was fantastic. There's a reason he was the breakout of a boy band group. Like, he is phenomenal. But this album's less than phenomenal. It gets nah. I'm not gonna come back to anything other than Rocket, I think. Speaking of older acts, I don't know, that's my segue. Megadeth, the titular album from the band Megadeth. And it is a bold choice to put your final album as your self-titled album. Because it really, like, by calling it your final album, by putting your self-titled, you're like, yeah, this is and was Megadeth. And frankly, listening to this album, this isn't and wasn't Megadeth. It has some of what Megadeth was and what we should remember Megadeth as, but it's also got a lot of mid-tempo garbage. And look, Dave Mustaine was always a rough vocalist. His vocal style is grating, and on their best work, it is the gratingest. And then it smoothed out over time, and I think around like, what was it called, 13? Endgame is where it kind of peaked, and it's like, yeah, it's strong, he's vocally strong, but he's lost all the really grating parts of it. It's the most accessible. And then it hasn't gone grating again, but it's kind of weakened, and I find it really noticeable on this album that, like, his vocals are just weak. He's getting old. It's their final album. I hate to say the word, but maybe he was phoning it in. What he didn't phone in on the songs where it's going is the riff. Tipping Point, Let There Be Shred, The Last Note. There are some really great songs on this, which are some classic blistering Megadeth riff. It's also got some good old Dave Mustaine lyrical cringe. I feel like he was quite clever at the start with his, like, anti-establishment views, and then he kind of got less and less clever as time went on. And this is kind of the end point of that, with songs like I Don't Care, which just sounds like a 14-year-old wrote it, being like, I don't care, Mum. I'm skipping school to hang out at the car park. I don't care. I'm gonna wear Jinko jeans and listen to Limp Bizkit. I don't care. Fuck you, school. Yeah. Not, once again, just one of those things that's like, man, that's forever staining your last album, if this is truly your last album. And then, yeah, just a lot of mid-tempo stuff in there as well. Another Bad Day, like, kind of the whole middle of the album, after Let There Be Shred, and before The Last Note. There's just a lot of mid-tempo songs or sections where it's like, man, this is... I guess it's good for your whole career, because you did have slower albums and stuff, but it's definitely not a highlight of your career. You didn't have to include that. And then it ends... I see this in two ways. The pessimist would say it ends emblematic of a man who never got over being kicked out of Metallica by covering Ride the Lightning, finishing his entire career as it started, thinking about Metallica. The optimist of me would say he ends his career by proving that Megadeth always could have done Metallica, but Metallica never could have done Megadeth. That's up to you. What's your interpretation? Maybe yours is different to either of those, but yeah, maybe it's both. Maybe he was so obsessed with them up to the final end that he just had to prove that he could outdo them. And he did. It's a ripper cover. His vocal style works for it. He's easily got the guitar chops for it. But yeah, he ends Megadeth's career on a Metallica song. Call that how you will. Why do I think Metallica could never do Megadeth? I don't think Metallica has the technical skills to do Megadeth. I think Dave was the best guitarist Metallica ever had, and employed better guitarists through Megadeth's long career and very long list of band members. I don't think James or Kirk could keep up with Dave or some of the other guitarists they've hired. And I'm a huge Metallica stan. I'm not the type of guy who goes out of his way to shit on Metallica. I genuinely believe that to be factual. So it gets a soft hell yeah. Which, hell yeah, that's your career. Hell yeah. Moving on. Poppy, Empty Hands. Now, I feel like I'm losing Poppy. I've been on Poppy before she went like fully metal, kind of. Before I Disagree, what was that one? Because I Disagree was kind of the first step into the real heavy shit. Oh god, I'm completely blanking on it and I can't find it quick enough. Am I a Girl? That's it. Am I a Girl is where I got in, and like before that gets a bit more experimental, but that was kind of like a pop, like top pop era, and then ends it on X, the song, and Play Destroy with Grimes, and like it's kind of stepping into that heaviness, but like before that, a very experimental artist. Since that, kind of really not experimental, kind of just funneling into this very easily reproduced alternative metal slash metalcore sound. Yeah, she's been fished. Jordan Fish has caught her in his fish net. And I don't know, maybe just it's once again, it's that two mindsets of maybe she genuinely loves it. Maybe she found metal coming from a pop background and really found herself in the genre and wants to stay in it. Maybe she ran out of steam and found something that's commercially viable. Who knows? But I wish you'd switch her sound up. I wish you'd put something that is a real, just absolute hard genre change to, almost shake off the people who have jumped on her in the last few years and see if the fans cling on, see if she can drag some people into new genres. Because I feel like she dragged a lot of people into metal, and now she's, just kind of stuck in it. When she played here for the first time for, was it a Good Things? It was one of the festivals, and we went to the sideshow at Stay Gold, because that's how small she was still. She played Stay Gold for the headline sideshow. And the crowd was like a 50-50 split of like kawaii looking people who are into like super like hyper pop stuff and metalheads, and the crowd did not mesh at all. Boy howdy, there were people very upset with the concept of moshing because they'd been listening to Poppy for like a decade and had never seen a mosh pit because that was new for her. Yeah, and I feel like that was so core to who she was, and now we just got this very bland alternative metalcore. I think I was saying to Joe that like it's a bit of a like, oh, my lobster is too buttery, my steak is too juicy. I can go hear this at my local. A band that sounds just like this plays Stay Gold every other week. And yes, that is emblematic of Melbourne having a world-class music scene, but it is also just, Poppy losing her edge. And there's only really like two songs that are here, I'd say, have creative edge. Eat the Hate gets really grungy, and then Empty Hands gets like even more heavy. It's kind of like a step into deathcore. But beyond that, nah. And if it didn't have either of those songs, it would be even lower. Yeah, Poppy, do something. That's me. It's a meme where I'm like poking with a stick. I'm like, do something. Change genres. Come on, change genres. Moving on, the Stripp. Life imitates art. The Stripp is dear to me, near to me. Not because I've seen them 1,000,000,001 times, but I saw them one time, very importantly. They were the first band I saw live after COVID lockdowns, the first lockdown. Um, it was at the Bendy, you still had to sit down, it was like table service show, and they opened for Wolfpack, so in my heart, I'm always like, yeah, the Stripp are cool, because they ended a very bad time of my life. Because obviously I love live music, so that long stint without it was, our own little personal footloose. Sonically, they're, again, one of those like very authentic sounding throwbacks. Maybe a bit less authentic, a bit more inspired rather than, taken from the era. But, if you like Heart, if you like Susie Q, if you like those like really strong rock and roll female fronted vocalists that, wear leather jackets and look like they could kick your ass, the Stripp is good. It is a real dive bar energy band, and I think that is their biggest strength and their biggest weakness, because I would have an absolute blast of this at like 11 p.m. at Last Chance or something like that. On record, I'm just like, it's kind of cool. I groove, I tap my toe along to it. But I'm not in the state of mind I need to be in to really enjoy this. It's just such pub rock that really needs the pub. Otherwise, without it, it's just a rock. Consider that. I also like the pure Australianese of this album cover, doing the Venus de Milo with the plastic clamshell. That is hilarious, and I actually just noticed that it was a plastic clamshell. That's peak. I love that. Yeah, I think they're a really cool band. I think they're worth checking out. I really recommend going and seeing them live, but I think they lose a lot of that. When you take the pub rock out of pub and you put it on a CD, it's just a rock album. So I still hold them near and dear, but yeah, I don't think I'm going back to that. Moving on, Goldfinger, 9 Lives. I've never been a big Goldfinger fan. They've obviously got like their peak singles, Superman and the 99 Red Balloons cover. But beyond that, I've never really checked them out, and when I haven't really stuck with them. But the reason this came up 1,000,001 times in my release radar, because it has collaborations with Pennywise, Blink-182, Ice Nine Kills, and No Effects, as well as Fiddler, who I don't listen to, and a rapper called Ian Dior. Overall, though, it's kind of forgettable. It's kind of just emblematic of like, oh yeah, that's right. Goldfinger, probably not the strongest band from their scene. Yeah, nah. Doesn't really say much. It's got a good variety of sound in it. I like this Pennywise one that's got a ska beat, but the ska beat's not really continuous throughout the entire album. And yeah, all the little like features are cool, but overall, I'm just like, yeah, it really just shows that Goldfinger were kind of the smallest fish in a scene that has real big fish. That's kind of clever. Does it count as a XPX cover if he's the bass player now? Probably not. I don't think you get credit for that one. Moving on to, this should say EP. This is possibly the only EP I'm covering. We'll get to the next album when we get to it. But a new EP, apologies for the error on stream, by Japanese Hanabie, with the EP Hot Topic. And look, it's an interesting 5 tracks. Because one track's kind of not a real song. I don't speak Japanese, but it sounds like a bit of a, like, almost a theme song type introduction, maybe, of characters. I don't know if I'm interpreting it right, but that's the vibe I get from it. The best two songs are up front with Iconic and Spicy Queen. Once again, when you hear like Spicy Queen, I'm like, do they get what that means in English? I don't know. I feel like they might. They've got that. They got a bit of edge about them that I feel like they would know what spicy means in the modern youth. And then About You has this kind of like nu metal rapping rhythm to it. It's a bit slower, drags on at 3 minutes 20. I feel like the gimmick kind of dries up because the song never picks up. And yeah, it's a good release. I think it's worth checking out. It's got that kind of God, I've seen it called kawaii core, and I kind of hate that because it feels like it's boiling down a lot of great musical talent to such a word that's almost fetishized, especially when Western people talk about Japanese culture. But yeah, it is. It does have that J-pop sensibility to it, paired with a metalcore that is almost more based in hardcore punk, and they've got a real hardcore punk energy and ethos about them. So I'm quite a big fan of this. I regret not seeing them on their last tour. I think that was just a bit of an expensive ticket at a time I didn't have funds, but really, really cool high-energy band. Would love to see them come out again. And keen to hear another full album from them. But hey, an EP is good. I said last year, bring back the EP. Not enough EPs. And now we're getting EPs again. So I will not ask for something and then say yuck when I get it. I will be like, yes, what a good EP. 4 proper songs, 2 are bangers, 2 are good, and then a silly little track on the end. Gets a hell yeah from me. Maybe I should have knocked that up one. I don't know. This new ranking system, I'm obviously still finding my feet with it, but it's on the right side of the spectrum. It's a hell yeah. Now, moving on is finally my last release, but it's also the last 2 releases. It's a double EP from Moonflare called Loud Silences and Quiet Noises. It's this kind of lo-fi electronic dancey album. It's made up of 2 artists. One, I've got to call it Dana. It's D. I hear what you're saying about a double EP, but there is reason for it. Because it's more of an album that's split in 2 than a double EP. But it hit Spotify as a double EP, so that's how I'm reviewing it. It hit as separate releases. I'm going to pronounce the first artist as Dana, which is like D''ANA. And then the second artist is 35 Low, who, if I remember right, I know 35 Low because they've DJ'd anime nights at clubs in Melbourne. But this Dana character, I believe, is based in New York, so it's an international collaboration. Loud Silences is the more upbeat of the 2. It's got these kind of pop sensibilities with light dance electronic elements. It's pretty pleasant. It's also pretty detached from anything that I'd frequently listen to. It does have some, I guess what I'd call anime credit song vibe to it, where I'm like, yeah, this is nice. This could wrap up something. It's very floaty in its instrumentals and its vocals. And yeah, it's very pleasant. It's got this kind of soft lighting vibe to it musically, if that makes any sense, and I'm sure it doesn't. It's just how my brain is trying to work this into something I describe. This is warm, soft lighting, like my nice pink Kirby light. You don't really notice it because it's always on, but if I turn it off, look at this. Whoop, I keep dropping the remote. This is light without the soft glow, and this is life with the soft glow. So when you think about it, the soft glow is nice, even if you don't really notice it, because, it's not superimposing. It's just there. And And then its counterpart, I'm like, yeah, this is alright. I wouldn't go back to it. Its counterpart, and I like what they've done here. They've swapped the shoes, they've also cooled the image, they've given a bit more blur. Is the sad floaty stuff. You know, it's a cold day with a leaf floating down the river. It's less danceable. It's still floaty, but yeah, it's sad floaty now. And lyrically, it's a mega downer. It's all like breakup songs and stuff. While I think Loud Silences is like I prefer the upbeat aspects to it. Quiet Noises, I think is better because it has more direction to it. I think through its sadness, it's really telling a story and telling a message. But for its strengths and weaknesses, like, it falls on the same thing of just like, this is pretty outside of what I'd go listen to. If you're into this kind of, I think dream pop might be what the kids call it, then I'm sure you could get something out of it. But for me, I wouldn't really listen to this, and I don't know anyone who would listen to this. I'm certain it has a fan base. Hey, they're doing a live launch in New York, so it must have a fan base. But hey, that's me done for the month. That's our January. This is our new thing. I'm not going to do album of the month because you're going to see what gets. I'm going to slip up and call it S tier because like what we're looking at here is S, A, B, C, D, F. I just wanted to keep the gimmick and the name in play, so literally just before stream went live, I went and renamed all the boxes. So yeah, that's the month. I really can't stress how much you should go just throw on Valley of Death 2 when you just want, turn your brain off and punch the drywall riff. Lionheart are so good for that, and I think they deserve more fans. And then when you really want to like sit down and have a long think about life, and you want a cool narrative and a cool hero's journey, the Protomen Act 3, really puts it all together. Really closes the trilogy off in a way that I could just gush about forever. But yeah, that's January. And that's the new format. And that's all the albums and EPs. What have you been listening to? Sound off in chat. Sound off in the comments. Wherever you see this. I hope whatever you've been listening to, you've been enjoying it. Because, life is about good music. And tune in on the first stream of March. And we'll go through February's releases. I don't think I've got anything yet. Because it's the 3rd of Feb right now. But we got the new Mayhem album, Liturgy of Death. Strong singles out so far for that. TX2, End of Us. Half really good songs, half pure TikTok cringe. Silosis, The New Flesh. What a cool reference, what a cool band. Their last album was really strong. Rob Zombie, The Great Satan. Haven't super enjoyed the 3 singles so far. Interesting to see where it goes. And locally, The Gloom in the Corner, Royal Discordance. Again, hit and miss on the singles. I think there's 3 out. I loved one, hated one, and was on the fence with the other, so we're going to see where that one goes to. But hopefully some other really cool releases that just aren't on my radar yet. Pleasant surprises throughout the month, I'm sure. If you find anything you think I like, hit me up, let me know. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later. And